Fast and Furious is a 1927 American film, not to be confused with the 1924 American film with the same title. Yeah, that confused me. I was trying to find information on this film and I kept getting the 1924 film. This one stars Reginald Denny as Tom Brown, and he is this race car driver, which, first of all, the camera tricks that they use in this film, I absolutely love. So he's this race car driver. He ends up getting in a wreck, and that's how he meets up with Ethel and her father. They are the Smithfields. The Smithfields, of course, are part of the race car scene, but they are trying to help Tom Brown, and you know, and as such, he ends up with their card. They drive away. He ends up getting hit by a car because he's standing in the middle of, he's very smitten by Ethel, and he gets hit by a car. And because of this, he is now afraid of cars. He hears the car horn and he just gets scared. And so the doctor tells him what he needs is a vacation. Well, of course, because he's got this card and he wants to see Ethel again, he decides that he should go to California, where their address is. And so when he goes over there, where there's all kinds of cars and everything, he's made fun of by a lot of people because of his he purchases, which I laughed. I laughed throughout this particular part because this is supposed to be the 20s, and there were still the buggies, the horse-drawn buggies and everything. So that was like the running gag throughout the whole movie, that he's using this horse-drawn buggy. And but he was getting made fun of for that. And but I loved it because of the fact that here's the 20s, we are now shifting into automobiles and everything. Everybody's using automobiles, and he's this guy that's so afraid of cars, who used to be a race car driver, is and well, when he meets up with Ethel, she's with an artist who is making this monument or this statue for this driver named Billings. And it turns out Billings is not going to make it to pose for the final touches. And as the movie goes on, of course, Tom Brown is mistaken for Billings, and this artist covers for him as much as he can. It is so much fun. I grew up watching Herbie. I love the Herbie movies. And with Dean Jones and Ken Berry was in one, and I loved them. Absolutely loved those movies. And I as I watched this movie, all I could think was Herbie. You really get a sense, though, of the racing scene in the 20s. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, I love race car. I mean, I just not too long ago watched Ford versus Ferrari. And so yeah, I love race car movies. So this one is added to the list. There's this whole race car scene and everything. It's got the comedic twist to it, and all of that. And of course there's romance and everything. It has that blending of the old Edwardian coming out of that, like with the horse and buggy, and then coming into the modern era and all of that. I loved everything about it. I mean, and And so I mean, like there's a party scene at one point when he is first introduced as Billings, and it's hilarious because he's trying to dodge this one fella who says that he's worked with Billings before and wants to, and it's just it's it's so funny. I mean, and there is one point where they break the fourth wall, and everything, and I can see where with this movie it's been taken for other race car movies. Elements of this movie has been snatched for, not so much snatched, maybe inspired by, that's a better word for it, for other race car movies. Because like I said, as I watched it, I thought of Herbie, you know. So, but it was really enjoyable, especially to watch 20s race car. I've seen 60s race car movies. I've seen 70s race car, well, Herbie, and up to now with Ford versus Ferrari and everything. So, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the comic elements. I loved the story itself, and everything else, and it was very seamless. A lot of times when they try and throw a lot of that in, it tends to be choppy, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. You think the romance, the comedy, the race car, and it worked all together just perfectly. And so, but anyway, so this is Fast and Furious. It was released in 1927.